Hi there, Ben.
Hi, Natalie. Nice to see you.
It's great to see you. Thank you for joining for this conversation. You have a very interesting job now, and I'm excited to have you just tell more people about it. So do you want to start with where you work and what company you're with and what you do there?
Yes, sure. So I'm at Steil Arbor Biosciences. We are in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We are maybe a mid-sized biotech company. My role is mostly on product development, doing R&D, but I've also, in my time here, managed a couple different products that are all based around either our DNA synthesis technology or our cell-free protein expression technology, which is called MyTXDL, which some of you may have heard of.
Yeah, and folks who are going to go on to the BioBuilder Club will actually get their hands on these materials, which is super cool. So yeah, R&D, maybe you can unpack those that acronym a little bit and what it means for your day-to-day.
Yeah, so here, that's research and development. So that can be applied to either new product ideas or also new ways of manufacturing our current products to make the manufacturing more efficient and cheaper, more robust, maybe more resilient to supply chain demands like we experienced with the COVID lockdowns. And also just meeting with other colleagues to come up with new ideas. And
It's amazing. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And occasionally we put out new products around these R&D projects.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's science, so the research part, it's process engineering, that the development part, it sounds collaborative and innovative, and maybe people are a little surprised that all that happens within an industry setting, which is where you're working. Did you have thoughts about working in industry versus academia when you were making some career decisions?
Sure, I definitely did. I think after my PhD, the first thing I went into was a nonprofit vaccine company, which is almost kind of a bridge between research and industry because there was a lot of research going on, but it was also very focused on actually producing a product. And then the company I'm at now, I mean, it's a spinoff from a university. So our two co-founders were a postdoc and then his mentor. So they are very much academic at heart. So it's not really that much of a stretch to come to an industry job like this because they are still very research minded. And it fits pretty well because you get to do the kind of the academic side and then you also get to do the industry side.
Yeah, I think that's a little surprising to people that industry can still feel very academic and discovery oriented, that growth and new ideas and new directions are still a big part of the industry. That's great. So, wow. So you mentioned your PhD, but that was almost certainly not your first degree. So where did you say go to high school, and were you interested in science then? How did you know you wanted to do science?
Sure. I grew up in Minnesota, so I grew up being outdoors a lot, being in the lakes, being in the woods, and really developed an interest probably just the outdoors and by that kind of the science of life. And both my brothers went into college with biology degrees. I went in thinking I was going to get a biology major and then switched to chemistry, but it really wasn't too different.
I always say biology is chemistry and chemistry is physics and physics is math. So yes, it is all connected.
It's all related. So chemistry track was a little more challenging. I think I like that better. And then from there, I went to do a PhD at the University of Colorado in Denver. And that was in their microbiology and immunology program. I actually worked on cell-free systems also, but it was a cell-free system based on HeLa cells, which are human cancer cells. And those were used to replicate poliovirus RNA.
Interesting.
Or you can take the RNA, drop it in, and you can get virus out, although that wasn't my goal. So for the most part, I was not making that. But.
Yeah, that's probably worth just spending a minute or two on, since it is so integrated both into your training and also the work that you do, just to say a little bit about TXTL and cell-free extracts and what they are and what they can be used for. I'm not sure it's commonly known.
Yeah, cell-free extracts are extremely useful in the sense that you don't have to worry about keeping what's in your tube alive, because there's no cells, there's no, other organisms. It is basically you take the guts out of either a bacterium or a human cell line, and you take out the ribosomes and the machinery used for transcription to make RNA from your DNA. And then the ribosomes do the translation. You have your tRNAs in there and they assemble the polypeptides. And it's a very useful system because you can make proteins with that system kind of on demand. You can add things to the system without having to worry about it killing the living organism. And you can make toxic proteins, for example, proteins that would be toxic to the host, not necessarily toxic to people.
Right.
But
Right.
that's an important distinction.
The cells won't like, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very powerful system because all you have to do is either drop in a DNA or RNA template and you're ready to go, and you can make your protein and analyze it, or even make virus if you want to.
Yeah, no, it's such a fascinating system, and it's so useful for prototyping novel cells and novel genetic circuits, and used in a lot of ways. So yeah, I think it's a platform technology, which is it's a tool for research, for discovery, for manufacturing, all those things. So so cool. Yeah. But you probably did not expect to be working in it. Did you have different expectations about where you were thinking you would be heading, and how you landed where you currently are?
I think in grad school, I thought I was going to go like the professor route, be writing grants and stuff. But I think in my experience in the academic life I had is that I just learned that writing grants was extremely time consuming. It's very, very competitive. It's probably for some people, but I decided it wasn't for me. And so I tried to find jobs like an R&D job where I'm not just doing manufacturing. I kind of still do my thinking and troubleshooting that I learned how to do in a PhD program.
Yeah.
And I still get to do that level of thinking. So I'm not just a cog in a wheel, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't have to write grants.
Yeah. Well, lucky.
I know. I get to partake in them sometimes.
Yeah, even better. Yeah. That scientific thinking is really addictive once you get started on it, right? This notion that you can have data in front of you and analyze it, and come up with an idea about what's going on, and then test it. And it just, I think that for people who find research as a path for them, or something that aligns with their spirit, it's really, it's a very fun way to spend your day and your career, is sleuthing stuff out, right? So that's great. So did you have somebody along the way that helped you sort of along, or gave you great advice? I like to just have people share what they have learned, rather than have everybody relearn it for themselves.
Sure. I would probably say my graduate student mentor was great. I really learned from him to kind of reduce problems to their simplest components, and then figure out from those components, if you're troubleshooting something, which is the squeaky wheel, basically.
Yeah, that is a real talent, is to reduce the problem to bite-sized chunks, and then figure out which of those is the issue. Very very valuable learning, for sure. And you and I have gotten to know each other because we are working on a grant together to get some of the kits from Steil Arbor out to students around the country. Do you have a I don't know, goal in education, or additional sort of thinking about what you'd like to see in education writ large? Because now that we're working together, we have a chance to do some good. What kind of good would you like to see done?
I mean, I'd love to see, high school students exposed earlier on to the more advanced things we are actually doing in industry these days, because products such as our TXTL system are really actually simple to use. And it is certainly something very amenable to being used in classrooms, and can provide a lot of education and mind opening maybe to different career paths that people probably aren't thinking of right now, but are no doubt going to be a big part of our future economy, I think.
I could not agree more. I think we underestimate what high school students, generally, we underestimate what high school students are capable of. And that if we raise the
Mhm.
ceiling and give them authentic experiences in science, they will absolutely rise to that occasion. And
Definitely.
yeah, and light a fire for pursuing this. And it is a great career, as you have shown, right? You know, you're
Yeah,
doing amazing stuff. Well, thank you for taking time to share it with our students.
you bet.
If there are questions, I will pass them along to you, but I do appreciate your sharing your story.
Sounds good. Thank you, Natalie.